A man and a woman commit adultery. The woman becomes pregnant. The husband is then murdered, but the baby has to pay the price. Welcome to Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz, and we are more moral than this God. The story in question is the one that most people do know about, is David and Bathsheba. Let's talk about this story for a minute. Now, historically, this is supposed to have happened between 1000 BCE and 965 BCE, which is supposed to be the reign of David. This was going on during the Bronze Age collapse, but of course, there is absolutely no historical evidence that this kingdom of David ever actually existed, since the world was in turmoil at that time frame. So more than likely, it's all propaganda. But David, being a man after God's own heart, let's look at the character of this man. This dastardly story of David and Bathsheba is told in 2 Samuel chapter 11, verse 1 through chapter 12, verse 29. In chapter 2, verse 2, it gets right to the point. One evening, David got up from his bed and walked around the roof of his palace. From the roof, he saw a woman bathing. She was very beautiful, and David sent someone to find out about her. The man said, "She is Bathsheba, the daughter of Elam and the wife of Uriah the Hittite." Then David sent messengers to go get her. She came to him. He slept with her. Now she was purifying herself from her monthly uncleanliness. This is added to the Bible by scribes as a reason to justify why she is outside on the roof of her house taking a bath, but this was not an original part of this verse. But then she was sent back home. The woman conceived and sent word to David saying that I am pregnant. This is like Mel Brooks' History of the World. It's good to be the king. Because evidently, as being king, David had privileges that most others didn't, although he was still held accountable to the law. But David, a man after God's own heart, decided that just because he saw a woman outside bathing naked, then found out that she was married, decided that he would just have to have her. He wasn't counting on her getting pregnant, so he thought that his deed could be covered up by just a one-night deal. I see a good-looking woman. I want some of her poom-poom, so let me go get some of that poom-poom. But it turned out she got pregnant. And after she got pregnant, he asked his people, hey, go find this guy, Uriah, and send him on back to me. Because he wanted to cover up the pregnancy, wanted to cover up his misdeeds. So that's what they do. They send out for Uriah. Uriah comes back. He gives David an account of what's going on in the battle as they were fighting against Joab. Or as they were fighting with Joab was his general. He said, what's going on with the battle? They were fighting against the Amorites. Well, he gives him an idea of what's going on with the battle, gives him a full report. He's loyal, and he's a dedicated soldier, Uriah, the hero of the story. He tells Uriah to go home. Uriah does not go home. He goes, and he sits outside and sleeps by the gate. And David just can't understand. Verse 10, David was told Uriah did not go home. So he asked Uriah, haven't you just come from a military campaign? Why didn't you go home? And Uriah said to David, the ark of Israel and Judea are staying in tents, and my commander Joab and my Lord's men are camped in the open country. How could I go to my house to eat and drink and make love to my wife? As surely as you live, I will do no such thing. Then David said to him, stay here one more day, and tomorrow I will send you back. So Uriah remained in Jerusalem that day and the next. At David's invitation, he ate and drank with him, and David made him drunk. But in the evening, Uriah went out to sleep on his mat among his master's servants. He did not go home. So this guy just did not go home. And David now really gets criminal with his activities. He actually gives this man a letter of his own demise and have him deliver it to the general himself. Don't believe me? It's right here. It's right here in your book. It says in 14, in the morning, David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it with Uriah. In it, he wrote, put Uriah in front where the fighting is fierce. Then withdraw from him, so he would be struck down and die. This man is plotting to kill a man, have Other people help him in the process just because he slept with his wife and she got pregnant. So while Joab had the city under siege, he put Uriah in a place where he knew the strongest defenders were. When the men of the city came out and fought against Joab, some of the men in David's army fell. Moreover, Uriah the Hittite died. And Joab sent an account of the battle to David to let him know that his plan succeeded, that Uriah the Hittite was dead. And you would think that that would just be the end of the story, right? But wait, there's more. Verse 26. When Uriah's wife heard that her husband was dead, she mourned for him. After the time of mourning was over, 8 days, David had her brought to his house, and she became his wife and bore him a son. But the but the thing King David did displeased the Lord. This joker, have her husband killed after he gets her pregnant on a one night, jump off. And now he moves her into the palace, makes her one of his wives, and then they have a son. And they just think they're going to be happy family. But of course, in this book, this guy, he flip-flops all the time. So he's going to be mad. So you would think David is going to be the one that's punished. Right? Nope. He's not punished. You see, Nathan comes in and Nathan starts explaining to him this parable about a rich man and a poor man and how the rich man took advantage of the poor man. Well, David get all up and angered about it and then wants to tell Nathan that surely as the Lord lives, the man who did this must die. He must pay for the lamb 4 times over because he did such a thing and had no pity. Then Nathan said to David, "You are the man." Straight up set King David up to let him know that he was the one. And Nathan even went as far as to tell him that, look, man, I delivered you the kingdom of Israel from the hands of Saul. If you needed more, I would have got you more. If you needed more poom poom, I would have got you more. You didn't have to go and kill that man in order to get that poom poom. So initially, Nathan tells him that your punishment is going to be that all the women, all your wives are going to be made love to by other people. And they're going to do it in broad daylight, not like how you did it in the dark. They're going to do it in the broad daylight, right? Get your wives poom poom. But David cries out, and he asks the Lord to forgive him and says, I have sinned against the Lord. And then Nathan replies, the Lord has taken away your sin, but you are not going to die. But because by doing this thing, you have shown utter contempt for the Lord, your son, the son born to you, will die. Don't believe me? It's in your book. It says that in verse 15. Chapter 12. After Nathan had gone home, the Lord struck the child that Uriah's wife had born to David, and he became ill. David pleaded with God for the child. He fasted and spent the nights lying in sackcloth and on the ground. The elders of his household stood beside him to get him up from the ground, but he refused, and he would not eat any food with them. On the 7th day, the child died. So the child was punished because of the illicit affair of the mother and the biological father. The child is punished because the biological father had the husband murdered. In what world of morality would anything like that ever make sense? I know Christians are going to try to explain that it shows that David was not perfect and that God is forgiving and God is loving and you can't go against God. But why kill the baby? So that Solomon can be born? Solomon still could have been born. Yeah, he wouldn't have been firstborn. I get that part. But why kill the baby? That baby could have been Solomon. Why kill the baby? Explain it.